It's New Year's 2019. What are you and I going to do to make this country better? Our neighborhoods better, our communities better? What are we going to do to save lives and to stop the spread of evil? That's what this program is about tonight. And trust me, there are things that you and I can do. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Welcome to the program, friend. I have a lot that I want to talk to you about tonight, and I hope that you can just give me the next 30 minutes. First, let's talk about this tragic killing of Ron Singh, the officer, the sheriff in California who was killed by an illegal immigrant. If you've seen any of the interviews of his brother, it was just horrifying to watch, horrifying. The man who murdered him is in custody. 6 others were arrested with him for aiding and abetting, trying to help him to flee back out of the country. He had been arrested before. He should not have been here. He was hiding out in a sanctuary city. And God rest his soul. God give comfort to the family. But I would like to use his tragic death and the way that this is being reported, at least as a part of a discussion. And, when there's people out there that are crying, that are grieving, that cannot believe this happened. He has a newborn son who he will never see walk. He has a beautiful wife that he will never hug again. He has family that loved him. He had a great reputation. He was foreign born. He was a legal immigrant, worked his heart out to have good English, and loved serving. Truly was an American patriot. And things like this, there's just no way around the fact that his murder has public policy ramifications. And I'm sorry that we have to talk about it, but we do. The sheriff went on television and said the reason the murderer was not apprehended was because he was hiding in a sanctuary city. And he shouldn't have been here. But now this is before he killed the officer. And the sheriff said, look, this is the direct fruit of the sanctuary city policy and our need for better security. So the Washington Post, in yesterday's news, took that part of his statement completely out. And here's the starting point that I want to discuss with you. There are things that are true and right and just, and then there are the organs of media that deliver to us the facts and the omissions, what they leave out. Now the reason that this is critical is because in this coming year, the fights are going to be more brutal. The political fights, the policy fights over the Second Amendment, border security on our southern border, who comes in our country from Islamic nations, whether or not there will be a wall built and how much funding will it get. Child killing. If Ruth Bader Ginsburg has to resign or if she dies because her health is so bad right now, President Trump is going to get another pick. The Mueller investigation. Our trade relations with China. On and on. And the probe as to whether or not there was Russian-Trump collusion to try and steal an election, which there wasn't. Whether or not Hillary will be criminally charged for various crimes that she committed during her tenure as Secretary of State and after. All of this is just swirling around us. The talk of the Democrats wanting to impeach President Trump. It is going to be an ugly year. So what I want to talk to you about tonight, on this New Year's night, is courage and truth. Truth and courage. In my opinion, the greatest crisis that we're facing in America right now is the absence of courage in the Christian community. Now, specifically, what I mean by that is the lack of courage in you and I, our pastors, the leaders of various ministries, our radio show hosts, people on the job, people sitting in the pew, the lack of courage to unequivocally proclaim the truth, and I mean truth with a capital T. We have been so browbeaten for the last 20 years about don't be divisive, be tolerant, be respectful. You have your truth, other people have their truth. We've been so browbeaten, and many of our Christian leaders have taken the bait. I don't want to be divisive. Oh, I don't want to be a hater. I want to show love. And because of that, many of us have stopped clearly, unequivocally saying the truth. So fill in the blank. Your child, your neighbor, your cousin wants to kill their baby by abortion. Well, I wouldn't do it, but it's not my decision to make. That's equivocation. That's actually a sellout. If somebody had a gun to your head and was going to kill you, and somebody else had the chance to save you or to cry out for you, and that other person said, well, I wouldn't kill him, I wouldn't kill her, but it's not my decision, it's not my thing. Is that how you would want people to respond? If someone that we love is going down the dark path of the homosexual lifestyle and trying to wrestle through their conscience and embrace what they're doing as a positive good rather than a mortal sin, a horrible sin that's going to harm their soul in time and maybe even in eternity. If we don't say the truth, well, as long as they're happy, I wouldn't do that, but, God understands or God knows. No, stop. That's the equivocation. That's the sellout. And those are, of course, the two critical life and death issues for our country, because these are the sins, two of the four sins that cry out to God for vengeance, for punishment, for judgment. And the plague that is in the Christian community today, a plague of cowardice and silence, that plague is helping pave the way for the strengthening of evil hands. So most people recognize that there are things that are truly right and truly wrong. But we've been so browbeaten that we don't want to say what's truly right and truly wrong. And then we've got the issue of the media, what they're telling us and what they're not telling us. I've got to take a break. I'm over on this segment. I am going to play for you a beautiful propaganda piece, evil beauty, from Elizabeth Warren, who has announced that she is, in fact, going to seek the presidency, the senator from Massachusetts. I want you to see it, and I want you to discern as you're watching truth from lies, truth from error. Don't go away. Introducing Roxy Guitar. If you're a guitar or bass player, whether you play acoustic or electric, check out Roxy Guitar. I've been playing for over 40 years and seen guitar stores all over America. I've never seen a store like Roxy Guitar. Roxy Guitar has over 700 guitars in stock, over 1,500 pedals, over 200 amps. For the beginner or price-conscious buyer, there's Michael Kelly guitars. For the serious player or professional, Roxy Guitar has the finest selection of guitar lines I've ever seen. You know I love Warrior guitars. Roxy Guitar has over 100 Warriors in stock. They have Heritage, G&L, Gretsch, John Sears, BC Rich, Duesenberg, Dean, legendary guitars at great prices, including pre-owned Gibsons, Fenders, and more. Let them know you heard about Roxy Guitar from Randall Terry and receive 10% or more off your purchase on select items. Go to roxyguitar.com. We are being lied to. And lies, when someone takes a stand in a court of law, they say, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? That phrase, the whole truth, is really critical. We are being lied to by the major media by what they're not telling us. And even it's gotten so obscene, it's gotten so ludicrous. I became a public figure over 30 years ago and was very frustrated by the media coverage that we got oftentimes. 30 years ago, at this time, I and some of my friends, we were making national and international news. All right? I was on 60 Minutes, Oprah. I mean, just go down the list. And I felt deeply frustrated at points because of the spin that was being put on my activities, my words, and Operation Rescue. Those were the good old days. It has gotten so bad now because at least back then, there was some sense of honor and dignity in the media. I'll tell this side, I'll tell that side. So I would say child killing is an abomination. The people who kill babies have blood on their hands. And those quotes would get in the papers and those quotes would be on television. Nowadays, they won't even print the quotes. They literally, Washington Post literally just took away the video clip of the sheriff saying that this is a result of the policy, this murder is because of the sanctuary cities. They have gotten so flagrant in using media as a weapon of deception. So for you and I in this coming year, we have got to broaden our horizon about what we listen to, what we watch, what we read in the news, or we have to be so grounded in the truth that we can listen to a fake news from CNN or from the New York Times, and we're discerning enough to read between the lines and to understand when we're being lied to and how we're being lied to and what questions that should be asked. Wait. Why was this guy in the country? How many times had he been arrested in America? Why wasn't he deported? Would a border wall on the southern border have kept this man from getting in, and would that police officer still be alive? And notice how little coverage his killing is getting. Because if the police officer, if Ron Singh's murder is covered extensively by the left-wing media, it proves President Trump's point that we need a border wall. And they're so committed to allowing a flood of illegal immigrants into this country, that they would just as soon lie about who killed Ron Singh by omission, or lie by what they don't discuss, or lie by how little they cover it. Just the lack of coverage is in itself a form of deceit. It's about the whole truth. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I want you to get your discernment cap on, because I'm going to play for you the clip of Elizabeth Warren announcing her Presidential Exploration Committee, all right? And I'm telling you, this is a pretty good work of art. That's the nature of deception. It's got to be good. It's got to be good, or people wouldn't fall for it. Don't go away.
I also want to speak tonight directly to Muslims throughout the world. We respect your faith. Its teachings are good and peaceful. And those who commit evil in the name of Allah blaspheme the name of Allah.
We have reaffirmed again and again that the United States is not and never will be at war with Islam. Islam teaches peace.
Islam is a religion of peace. They are not Muslims, they are monsters.
We've been told that Muslim terrorists have hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam. But Islamic art and literature tell a very different story. To know the truth, we only have to study the narrative of the founder of Islam, Mohammed, in his own words. Welcome back, friend. I'm going to play for you the clip that Elizabeth Warren released saying that she's going to run for president. Now, listen closely, watch closely. Look with discerning ears and eyes. At the beginning, this is really heartwarming. Her talk about her brothers being in the military, her dad, how the mom saved the family, working part-time at Sears. Oklahoma called him daddy instead of dad or father, which is what they would normally say in Massachusetts. She's using Southern language. She's going to be a formidable populist candidate. but the content is what matters. She says things in here that are just not true. I'm going to point them out to you. When they lower the taxes on the rich, she's pushing for a class warfare battle. And then she says that they pay less in taxes than their janitors and their secretaries. That's just a lie. It's a lie, a flat out lie. The percentage that the wealthy pay is still far higher than what the poor pay, or the people who don't make as much money. The percentage is bigger. She's lying. When she talks about oil companies destroying the planet, really? Has Exxon destroyed America? I loathe Exxon. So part of the problem we're facing is that she has truth and lies and mixed together. And that is what rat poison is. 99% good food, 1% strychnine, and the rat ends up dead. Watch this clip.
In our country, if you work hard and play by the rules, you ought to be able to take care of yourself and the people you love. That's a fundamental promise of America. A promise that should be true for everyone. Growing up in Oklahoma, that promise came through for me and my family. After my older brothers joined the military and I was still just a kid, my daddy had a heart attack and couldn't work. My mom found a minimum wage job at Sears, and that job saved our house and our family. My daddy ended up as a janitor, but he raised a daughter who got to be a public school teacher, a law professor, and a senator. We got a real opportunity to build something. Working families today face a lot tougher path than my family did. And families of color face a path that is steeper and rockier, a path made even harder by the impact of generations of discrimination. I've spent my career getting to the bottom of why America's promise works for some families, but others who work just as hard slip through the cracks into disaster. And what I've found is terrifying. These aren't cracks that families are falling into, they're traps. America's middle class is under attack. How did we get here? Billionaires and big corporations decided they wanted more of the pie, and they enlisted politicians to cut them a fatter slice. They crippled unions so no one could stop them.
We're going to turn the bull loose.
Dismantled the financial rules meant to keep us safe after the Great Depression, and cut their own taxes so they paid less than their secretaries and janitors.
It's time to write the rules for the middle class.
After Wall Street crashed our economy in 2008, I left the classroom to go to Washington and confront the broken system head on.
Elizabeth Warren, apparently not afraid to tangle with Wall Street.
Elizabeth Warren is heading into the lion's den.
Mrs. Warren goes to Washington.
She did.
We created America's first consumer watchdog to hold the big banks accountable.
A woman who has warned of another meltdown if Washington doesn't straighten up.
I never thought I'd run for office, not in a million years. But when Republican senators tried to sabotage the reforms and run me out of town, I went back to Massachusetts and ran against one of them. And I beat him.
And we are going to turn Washington back to the people.
Who do we love? Warren! Who do we love? Warren!
Today, corruption is poisoning our democracy. Politicians look the other way while big insurance companies deny patients life-saving coverage, while big banks rip off consumers, and while big oil companies destroy this planet. Our government's supposed to work for all of us, but instead, it has become a tool for the wealthy and well-connected. The whole scam is propped up by an echo chamber of fear and hate, designed to distract and divide us. People who will do or say anything to hang on to power point the finger at anyone who looks, thinks, prays, or loves differently than they do.
Build that wall.
But this dark path doesn't have to be our future. We can make our democracy work for all of us. We can make our economy work for all of us. We can rebuild America's middle class, but this time we gotta build it for everyone. No matter where you live in America, and no matter where your family came from in the world, you deserve a path to opportunity, because no matter what our differences, most of us want the same thing: to be able to work hard, play by the same set of rules, and take care of the people we love. That's the America I'm fighting for. And that's why today I'm launching an exploratory committee for president. But the outcome of this election will depend on you. In the last 2 years, millions of people have done more than they ever thought they would to protect the promise of America. And here's what we learned. If we organize together, if we fight together, if we persist together, we can win. We can, and we will.
All right, I've got to take a quick break. I'm telling you, she's going to be a formidable candidate, and the reason is because people are no longer committed to truth, and they don't have the ability to think critically, analytically, and to separate truth from lies. I'll be right back. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Mohammed and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, "I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life." Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700 or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Introducing Roxy Guitar. If you're a guitar or bass player, whether you play acoustic or electric, check out Roxy Guitar. I've been playing for over 40 years and seen guitar stores all over America. I've never seen a store like Roxy Guitar. Roxy Guitar has over 700 guitars in stock, over 1,500 pedals, over 200 amps. For the beginner or price-conscious buyer, there's Michael Kelly guitars. For the serious player or professional, Roxy Guitar has the finest selection of guitar lines I've ever seen. You know I love Warrior guitars. Roxy Guitar has over 100 Warriors in stock. They have Heritage, G&L, Gretsch, John Sears, BC Rich, Duesenberg, Dean, legendary guitars at great prices, including pre-owned Gibsons, Fenders, and more. Let them know you heard about Roxy Guitar from Randall Terry and receive 10% or more off your purchase on select items. Go to roxyguitar.com. Welcome back, friend. Theologians call those of us who are Christians on this earth the Church Militant. That's you, that's me, the Church Militant. The Church Triumphant are the Christians that are in heaven. Church Militant are those down here on earth still slugging it out for the faith. The thing about being militant is it's militant. It's hard to be the Church Militant if you're not militant. And tragically, there are people right now who have created a theology of surrender, of non-confrontation, of non-militancy in order to avoid the duties of being the church militant. There's just no way around it. If you and I are going to have an impact, we're going to have to stand for what is true and proclaim it. And that means that lies are confronted. By definition, it means confrontation. So when Elizabeth Warren talks about us hating, we don't hate. We don't hate people, but we hate child killing. We hate evil. The Bible says to fear the Lord is to hate evil. They say, well, you're divisive. Yes, we are. Truth is divisive. The scriptures talk about the sword of the truth that separates bones and marrow. It divides. Truth divides. So my encouragement to you is to begin, at whatever level you're at, to go ahead and be militant. Fulfill your role. Fulfill the high call of God in Christ Jesus on your life to be an active part of the church militant. We can't be victorious if we don't fight. Jesus said the gates of hell will not prevail against his church. But that implies major conflict, that the church is on the offensive, ramming into the gates of hell. And if we're not willing to fight, if we're not willing to be aggressive, if we're not willing to be confrontational, if we're not willing to be militant, then we're not going to win. And we're going to continue to lose the country as we have been losing this country for over 40 years. God have mercy on us. I ask you, in times of prayer and thought, what will you do to be an active part of the church Militant. God bless you and Happy New Year.